So Philip, tell me a bit about this artwork.
I titled this Kill Count, and it was inspired by an interview I read in a Polish newspaper. Unfortunately, I can't remember the person that was being interviewed, but it was about the Predator drone, which I portrayed here, and how it is being used at the moment in current world wars. Especially how a situation where a suspect surrenders when he's held at gunpoint is considered awkward and can be very bad for the media. Mm-hmm. Therefore, Predator drones are used to take them out and avoid that awkward situation. I thought that was wrong, not giving the suspect a chance to surrender. It was morally wrong. So I did this in kind of a protest to that, showing this concept of a soldier painting a tally of suspects taken down.
You've obviously restricted the colours here just to black and white. Tell me a little about what was your thinking for that?
I'm not sure. I've been playing around with black and white a while before, and I thought that it might be too complicated to expand the color scheme on such a big scale as this. Could have used tones of gray in the middle, but I think this brought about more rawness in the picture. That it was, I don't know, I preferred black and white in this case.
Okay. And these are studies and preparatory pieces, are they?
Yes.
Okay.
For the soldier and examples of the Predator drone.
So Philip, tell me what's happening here. What's the soldier doing?
Well, the soldier's painting a tally of either successful missions or specific suspects taken down. And this is a nod to the way soldiers used to decorate their planes in World War II and even further. And that's mainly why he is painting.
Okay. It's quite a large piece, so presumably there was quite a lot of process involved in working out how you're going to make it that large and how you're going to make it fit in the space provided. Tell me a bit about the process of making this piece.
Well, this started from two photographs. A photograph of the Predator drone in front of the hangar, and a second photograph of the soldier that I've got here. Mm-hmm. And using Photoshop, I combined the two together, took some things out that were not fitting, and then changed them to change the whole thing to black and white, balancing the tones and everything to make the important things stand out and not important things fade into black. So this originated as a digital file. I then traced it from printouts for the whole thing, and then painted it by hand.
Excellent. And this is acrylic, black acrylic, is it?
I think it's acrylic, although it has a shine to it.
Yeah.
I'm not exactly sure why that is, but it seems okay.
Okay, great. All right, so continuing the black and white theme, we have this. This is one piece, three separate images. So please tell me a little bit about these, Philip.
Well, these were chronologically created before the Predator drone. Mm-hmm. So in a way, they were kind of studies for a larger piece, also in black and white. And this is a response to an assignment where we were given words chosen randomly, but I decided to connect them using the color scheme and make this a black and white piece altogether. Mm-hmm. So at first I started experimenting with a paper cutout and how that would, how merely taking out paper could bring out a shape. That's in the first picture. The second one, and that was response to the word legs.
Legs, okay.
Obvious. The second one was a response to the word choice, and obviously smoking is a hot topic among teenagers and things like that. And I decided to portray the Marlboro Man, who was very famous as the character that made Marlboro cigarettes for men as opposed to more feminine cigarettes. Mm-hmm. However, if I remember the history right, he then died of lung cancer.
Yeah, I think so.
And the last one is a response to the word puzzle. And I was thinking of more ancient puzzles, like what is the sound of one hand clapping? And I tried to portray that using a stencil that I progressively made smaller and then traced to make the image of sound in the background, and then the two hands overlaid on each other to form a sort of clapping.
And did you have any process or plans for these? Was there a development of ideas, or did these ideas come to you pretty much fully formed in terms of what you made?
In terms of the puzzle one, I thought that was after a couple hours planning, I came up with this idea, which was not related to the plans I was doing, but it did originate there. The cutout one, I did make a preliminary study of on a smaller scale. And the Marlborough Man, I think I also made some studies, and I think those are in the workbook.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe we can have a look at those. Okay, Philip, so you've done some planning in the investigation workbook. Can you just show me the relevant pages?
Well, this is the page for the Marlborough Man. And overall the three were selected out of 9 pieces, so out of a whole assignment there was only 1 page per word. So here I've looked at some dilemmas, the first one being a fork in the road, and the dilemma of selecting which path to take, something about destiny and being able to shape it. And then the most famous dilemma in literature, I think, to be or not to be. And finally the cigarettes that I decided to work on in the end. And moving on to legs, and I am a big fan of Monty Python's work, but so I looked a little bit at that, the large foot stomping down from heaven, a little bit at Salvador Dali's work. The legs of the elephants were obviously very exaggerated and prominent, and then in the end making a preliminary study of the final piece on a smaller scale. And here, working on a smaller scale and with paper cutouts is obviously more difficult, so it does not look as smooth as the final, but it was a good way to just to see how it would work out in the end.
Okay.
And the puzzle. I have looked at puzzle and the word conundrum in the end, meaning the same thing. And although I'm missing the word for this in English, there's I think it's a rebus, whereby a couple images then form the final answer to a puzzle. So I was thinking of putting those 3 images together, of CO for Colorado, a nun, and then a drum to form conundrum. Fairly simple concept. Then moving on to different puzzles and jigsaws, and the single hand clapping.
Which is the part
final
of the image that
Yes.
you've explored, yeah. Great, thank you. Okay, Philip, let's talk now about this piece, Putin-Medvedev.
Well, this piece was inspired by the recent elections or sparked mostly by the recent elections in Russia, and the way Putin and Medvedev are constantly kind of in power. But the style of the piece was inspired by Carlos Cruz Diaz and his physichromies, the way he uses this kind of grate to form an optical illusion of 2 shapes switching between each other. So I thought I could use that to portray Putin and Medvedev as one person. Carlos Cruz Diaz usually does this only with abstract shapes, and I thought I could push this a little bit further and make this representative, form a portrait out of it. I think it works pretty well in that you cannot separate the 2 faces perfectly. One seems more prominent, and that is Putin, but Medvedev is still somewhere in there, and I think that works very well with how history is being written at the moment.
And the process of making an optical illusion can be quite time consuming. So do you have records of the process and documentation of how you did this?
Yes. I've started by making separate portraits of Putin and Medvedev, similarly as I did with Kill Count. I made black and white images in Photoshop, and I have these here. Then I divided the paper into thin 1/8 of an inch grade and copied the portraits of Putin and Medvedev into every other grade to form this illusion. Yeah.
Okay. And are there also pages in the book, in the investigation workbook, which relate to this?
Yes. The piece was inspired by a work called Physichromy number 123 by Carlos Cruz Diaz, where he used this optical illusion, which, yeah, I saw this piece at a recent trip to Tate Britain, and from that I looked at moire patterns, which form when two sets of intersecting lines are only a little angle apart, which is very often how the illusion comes across. I've looked at different types of moire patterns with lines, with grids, and with circles. I've moved on to thinking about duality and how one piece can be two things at the same time. I've looked at ambigrams, which are words that read two different things based on your perspective, and a famous one is a doormat that reads "come in as you come in and go away as you go out." I've tried making my own in line slightly within the theme that I just selected, which was control. I've tried making a mirror image of inform, read, conceal. It did not come out as great as I hoped it would, but yeah, in the end I did not choose that to go for a final piece. Then I've tried figuring out exactly how the screen and the grade should be placed together to form, to create one image for one eye and the other image for the other eye of the viewer. And in the end, there were too many variables to control for in terms of making that illusion perfect. So I decided to just try and make this as best as I can without doing the most complicated math. And then moving on to the final idea of Putin and Medvedev. And the two are portrayed together fairly often, with Medvedev being shown as a puppet of Putin's or his mirror image. But I always thought that those were caricatures and they should not be portrayed that way. So I decided to take a more serious tone with this and make the two merge in a more serious portrait. So here I've documented how I've worked with the portraits, made them into black and white, and an idea of how the screen should look like in the end of the two intersected together.
Great, very good. Okay, Philip, is there anything that you'd like to talk about that we've not already said or covered?
Well, I did focus mainly on black and white, but not only exclusively with paint. I've worked with different mediums, and one such example is a scratchboard piece I did titled simply Self-Portrait. I thought it was particularly relevant to me with in terms of time management and how simply playing games,
just explain
my
what's
hobby
going
is
what's
taking
going on
up
there.
a lot of time, and just feeling how I was wasting my time at the same time, but could not step away from it. That's why the handcuffs on the gaming controller.
You've got your hands there holding a game controller and they're handcuffed together, and presumably
Yes.
that's the screen where the game's on.
Yeah, I thought the scratch board really brought that out in terms of the way that lighting is portrayed on the scratch board. That it has to be either white or black, very dramatic.
Okay, Philip, thank you very much.
Thank you.